This is a medieval-themed film released in 2022. Despite a budget of only $23 million, the film boasts exquisite costumes, sets, and an outstanding soundtrack. The medieval combat scenes are executed with precision and intensity. The film tells the legendary story of Jan, a Czech national hero of the 14th century. After the death of the Holy Roman Emperor in 1378, Europe was plunged into chaos. War, plague, and famine ravaged the land. The failure of France and Germany to control the papacy led to a great schism in the Catholic Church. During this period, there were two popes, one in Rome and the other in Avignon. To end this chaos, the best solution was to quickly crown a new emperor. Wenceslas, the king of Bohemia and an elector of the Holy Roman Empire, was the best candidate for the throne. Unfortunately, he was heavily in debt. His trusted minister, Boris, was sent to Rome to obtain a pass to ensure Wenceslas's smooth coronation. However, the papal forces in France obstructed them at every turn. Boris hired Jan as his bodyguard. Their group was surrounded by enemies. As the last line of defense was breached, an archer on the hill shot an arrow, hitting a horse's rear. The horse bolted forward, followed by the cavalry. A tree across the road blocked everyone. The old man thought it was over. Suddenly, Jan and his men charged out of the woods, using a large fork to knock down men and horses. A man more ferocious than Jan pushed a horse into the river with brute force. Jan's mercenaries fought fiercely. After defeating the cavalry, they saw reinforcements coming. Jan mounted a horse, wielding a mace, and charged through the enemy reinforcements. Medieval warfare was brutal and bloody, with lives as insignificant as ants. Though the mercenaries were brave, the enemy was overwhelming. Jan saw a fighter in trouble, charged with a spear, but couldn't save him, watching him die. Jan vented his anger on the enemy, avenging his fallen comrades with their blood. In the end, Jan's side won, and everyone roared to the sky, releasing their emotions, but Boris was dissatisfied. He hired Jan for protection, yet his guards were all dead. Jan learned from a surviving bearded man that Rosenberg was behind the assassination.
Who sent you?
Just kill me.
Or you can join us.
Why?
You were the last, like most of us.
And the luckiest. It was Henry of Rosenberg.
To fill the gap, Jan invited the bearded man to join his team. After all, they were just struggling to survive. They reached an understanding and became brothers. Jan planted seeds beside his fallen comrades, believing death could bring life. The king of Bohemia was worried about the travel expenses to Rome. His half-brother, King Sigismund of Hungary, came to support him, but the trip to Rome was still a huge expense. Wenceslas often borrowed new debts without repaying old ones. A true medieval debtor, Rosenberg, as a creditor, refused to lend him money. Moreover, Rosenberg sent people to assassinate Boris, as the noble alliance behind him coveted the imperial throne. During a conversation, Boris returned with the pass. Rosenberg had promised to support Wenceslas if he obtained the pass, but now he broke his promise and left with his fiancée, Catherine. In the city, Jan met Torek, an old colleague. Torek was hired by Sigismund to escort his brother to Rome for coronation. He warned Jan not to steal his business unless they joined his team. On the way back, Catherine saw soldiers conscripting men and hoped her fiancé would intervene, but he did nothing. She watched helplessly as soldiers killed civilians. Rosenberg deceived Catherine, claiming he wanted to help but needed her uncle's assistance. Catherine's uncle was the king of France. Meanwhile, to make Rosenberg fulfill his promise, Boris devised a plan to kidnap his fiancée, Catherine. Jan was initially reluctant, as kidnapping women was considered bad luck, but Boris offered a high reward. During Catherine's church visit, she was lured into a dark room and tied up. The guards outside noticed something was wrong, but it was too late. Jan's group had already taken Catherine out of the city. Rosenberg, just returning from a tryst, realized his fiancée was missing. He ordered a search, but she was nowhere to be found. Boris informed Wenceslas of the successful plan, and Wenceslas was delighted. as the travel expenses were resolved. Sigismund also had his own plans. He secretly met with Rosenborg, offering to help find Catherine in exchange for the Noble Alliance's support. Though not an elector, Sigismund had royal blood and promised Rosenborg greater rewards if crowned emperor. They reached an agreement. Sigismund hired Torek to find Catherine. Torek knew Jan had taken Catherine. Unable to find Jan, Torek vented his anger on his family. He captured Jan's brother, impaled his nephew, and left a female neighbor alive to deliver a message. If Catherine wasn't returned, his brother would be hanged. Jan, though furious, had no choice but to exchange hostages.
Bring out my old friend's brother.
He knew the exchange was a ruse and a battle would follow. As expected, Torek set an ambush on the return route. Fortunately, Jan never fought unprepared.
Now! Just.
He used smoke to obscure the enemy's vision and shields to block arrows. Then he set up a second barrier, using makeshift spears against the approaching cavalry. The simple weapons were surprisingly effective. In zero visibility, the cavalry was useless. With dwindling soldiers, Torek ordered a horn to recall the team escorting Catherine. As the soldiers withdrew, two men ambushed from behind, quickly taking out the guards and capturing Catherine again. The screams alerted the squad leader, who saw Catherine taken into a cave, creating a hidden threat. Torek's recalled infantry attacked, entering the smoke. Jan glanced sideways, seeing a cart rolling downhill. The smoke was too thick for the infantry to see, but they heard the noise. The cart's stones flew like meteors into the infantry, causing heavy casualties and screams. To boost morale, Torek led the charge. Though Jan had defeated many enemies, he wasn't confident of escaping unscathed. As the battle was about to resume, Jan's men emerged from the cave, announcing Catherine's capture. Jan ordered oil poured on the cart, then set it ablaze, blocking the cave entrance. The squad leader, whose hostage was taken, appeared, revealing the trap. Back at the cave, they planned their next move. Suddenly, a brother was assassinated in the dark, and Torek's men stormed in, starting another fight. In the narrow cave, swords clashed, and the sound of weapons piercing flesh was chilling. Jan, wielding a mace, fought bravely. Blocking Torek's attack to save a comrade. Torek's counterattack struck Jan's left eye. Blinded, Jan froze, and a comrade pushed him aside, sacrificing himself to block Torek. Blood splattered, and Catherine helped Jan escape. The cave battle was a defeat for Jan, and the survivors fled. Catherine didn't abandon Jan, tending to his wound and staying by his side. To find Jan, Torek used scorched earth tactics, leading destruction in his wake. Conrad, from Jan's mercenary team, found him, offering to lead him to the king's hunting lodge for 10,000 coins. The sky was dark, and crows feasted on carrion. Separated from his team, Jan and Catherine headed to the lodge alone. In the woods, they traveled along a river when Catherine heard cries and saw Rosenborg's men preparing to hang a child. Catherine, filled with compassion, rushed to intervene. Ordering the soldiers to release the boy, but they ignored her. Jan had no choice but to charge, severing an arm and using his mace and sword to defeat the enemy. The soldier hanging the boy was killed, and the boy fell to the ground, temporarily safe. Though he saved the boy, Jan was outnumbered and knocked down. A horn sounded in the woods, signaling Torek that Jan was captured. The horn also alerted Jan's team, who rushed to the sound. The villagers, inspired by Jan's bravery, told the squad leader they could take Catherine but must leave Jan. The squad leader drew his sword, killing a villager, facing off against the villagers. At this critical moment, Catherine stabbed the squad leader in the back with a dagger. The battle erupted, and without their leader, the soldiers' morale plummeted. The oppressed villagers joined the fight. With Jan freed, the soldiers were quickly defeated. When Torek arrived, only a dozen corpses remained. Conrad suggested pursuing them, as they hadn't gone far. In the next moment, he was betrayed and killed, proving traitors never fare well. The villagers gathered to help Yang escort Catherine to the lodge. But traveling with Catherine, Yang had a different plan. He wanted to take Catherine to France, using the French king against Rosenberg. The journey from Prague to Paris was over 1,000 kilometers, leaving everyone stunned. The mercenaries had different ideas, preferring to deliver Catherine to the king for a reward. With Torek pursuing them, going to France seemed unrealistic. Yang insisted, ordering his comrades to comply. At night, Yang and Catherine talked, growing closer, when he was suddenly attacked. The attacker was his comrade, unhappy with the plan to go to France. They kidnapped Catherine, knocked Yang out, and tied him to a tree. Meanwhile, a coup d'état took place inside the palace, with King Wenceslas's guards killed and him imprisoned. Sigismund revealed his ambition to seize both the Bohemian and Holy Roman Empire thrones. Yang was rescued by the boy he saved, who took him to Boris. Boris, mortally wounded, had escaped the coup but was fatally shot. He urged Yang to rescue Catherine, warning that Sigismund's success would ruin the country. With those words, Boris passed away. Yang rallied the villagers, called for more support for the march to the palace.
If you choose to fight, you may die. But for your cause, and that is a good death.
The man who took Catherine took her to the palace, but instead of a reward, they faced a wave of swords. Torek never intended to let them leave alive, forcing the survivors to use Catherine as a shield and retreat into the dungeon. A fierce battle ensued in the dungeon, but they were outnumbered. At a critical moment, Yang appears and he enters the dungeon through a secret passage. Just as the three groups were confronting each other, the king's pet broke the stalemate, devouring a soldier. The screams caused chaos. Yang's side was outnumbered, with enemies pouring in. Thinking quickly, Yang opened the cage, silencing the dungeon. The lion, happy to be free, growled softly. The lion recognized Yang as its liberator and spared him. The enemies, panicked, fled, with the unlucky soldier at the front becoming the lion's meal. Yang and his group escaped the dungeon, but as they opened the door, the archer was killed. Outside the castle, chaos reigned, and Yang joined the fight against Torek. Despite their numbers and strength, the villagers were no match, falling one by one. Catherine witnessed the war's brutality, with only Yang left fighting. In the end, Torek defeated Yang, pinning him with a sword. According to the rules, Yang, as the last survivor, could join the enemy, but Yang turned his head, refusing to surrender, preferring death. Catherine stopped Torek, standing on the high wall, speaking to Yang. After speaking, she fell back, jumping without hesitation. Torek rushed to the wall, and Yang seized the opportunity to pull Torek into the water. They fought fiercely in the water, with Yang ultimately killing Torek with a rock. Catherine had sunk, and Yang used all his strength to save her. What seemed like a happy ending turned tragic as Catherine's eyes lost their light. She gave Yang her mother's ring before closing her eyes. More villagers joined, singing for Catherine's farewell. In 1420, after his brother's death, Sigismund became king of Bohemia, organizing a crusade against his opponents. Yang stood up, leading a peasant army against the Teutonic Knights and the Holy Roman Empire. With his mace and ring, he feared no challenge. Though the uprising failed, it laid the groundwork for the Hussite Wars against the Holy Roman Empire. The film ends here. If you enjoyed it, please like and follow. Thank you.